Hi everyone, welcome to Women in Community. I'm Paula, and this week we are talking about women who have broken the barriers, and I would love to introduce you to Betsy, who has an amazing topic today.
Today I'm going to talk about the woman at the well. Familiar story, but she really did break some barriers, and I want to talk about that. So, Paula, the first thing, there were 3 barriers that this woman overcame. The first one was gender.
Yes.
The second one was her race.
Yes.
And the third one was her self-image.
Wow.
So I think these 3 are really common issues today amongst people. So even this ancient story applies to today. Yeah. So the first thing regarding gender, the story is that Jesus and the disciples were going from Judea to Galilee, and Jesus said, "I must needs go," the King James says. I love that. But basically he's saying, I need to go. We need to go out of the way, and we need to go through Samaria. So that was really odd because the Jews did not like the Samaritans at all. There was definitely bigotry where that was concerned, but Jesus said, I need to go there. So when he got there, he was at the well, and in comes the Samaritan woman. Now what happens? Jesus begins a conversation with her. And we today don't think that much about a man beginning a conversation with a woman, Paula.
That's really true.
But at that time, it was a big deal.
Yes.
And even when the disciples came back at the conclusion of this story, the disciples, it says they marveled that Jesus was talking to a woman. So this was a huge barrier between men and women that existed in that day. Mm-hmm. But Jesus, I love how each one of these issues, each one of these barriers, Jesus helped her overcome them. So he initiated this conversation. And did you know, Paula, that this is the longest recorded conversation that Jesus had in the Bible?
Wow.
Isn't that neat?
Wow, with a woman.
With a woman, and a Samaritan woman at that.
Wow.
Not a Jewish woman, but a Samaritan woman, which is just awesome. The next thing that she overcame was race. And again, back to the Samaritan issue, the Jews absolutely had no love lost for the Samaritans whatsoever. But Jesus initiated a conversation with this woman. I love that. This is kind of cool too, that, when Jesus started talking to her, she questioned him. Not only did he initiate this conversation, but she doesn't just start talking. She says, "What are you doing? You're a Jew, and you're talking to me. What are you doing?" So to me, that took some boldness on her part to be questioning this man and in authority, because he had the garb of a teacher and of a rabbi. So I love that she had some chutzpah about her. The next thing is that her self-image. Now, remember, this woman had been living in sin, as we would say. Jesus confronted her about that. She said that the man, Jesus said to go get your husband, and she said, "I don't have a husband." And Jesus said, "You're right. You've had 5 husbands, and the man you're living with now is not your husband." Yeah. But instead of just bowing in shame, she was just marveling that Jesus read her mail the way that she did.
Yeah, he did.
The way that he did, excuse me.
Yeah, he did.
So Jesus accepted her just as she was, and I love that.
Yeah.
He read her mail without condemning her.
Yes.
I love that. He addressed the issue, the sin, but nothing about him condemned her. And he enabled her to open up.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he disarmed her the way that he was speaking to her. Mm-hmm. It was very disarming, and she could have a conversation with him. And she was honest with him. She didn't try to hide.
Right.
She was able to be transparent.
Yes. Yeah, because he wasn't condemning.
No.
Right?
No.
We feel so much more free to be vulnerable, I think, when there's no condemnation.
And imagine how vulnerable she felt.
Indeed.
Her sin just totally exposed there. But what did she do after Jesus read her mail? She goes back to her village. And you know what the word says in John 4:28? It says she went to the men. She went to the men. It doesn't say she just went back to her village.
Wow.
She went back and said to the men, and they responded, and they came to see Jesus. Isn't that something?
How did I miss that as many times as I've read
Well,
that?
I missed it too, you know?
Wow.
So I thought that was kind of a neat point.
It is.
That she said to the men. And then, miraculously, the men responded. They knew this woman.
Right.
They knew her and her
Right.
reputation, but they responded. So the gist of the thing is that the woman had a message, and she was not afraid to share it. And she overcame the obstacles with Jesus' help. And you know what? We each have a message, Paula. We each have a voice
Yes.
and something to share. But a lot of times we let barriers lock us up and keep us from sharing with others. So I just want you to ask yourself, what are your barriers from sharing Jesus with others?
Yeah.
Is it your race? Is it because you're a woman? Does it have to do with your age?
That's one.
Your socioeconomic status?
Exactly.
There are many things that can be barriers. Fear of rejection is a huge one.
It is huge. Yes.
But she didn't fear rejection. She just
Wow.
went for it.
Yeah.
And I love that. And if she can overcome those barriers, then certainly with Jesus' help, we can overcome ours.